It's safe to say that no vehicle in GTA Online caused as much controversy as the Oppressor MK2. It is loved by griefers and grinders alike and hated by players who long for the former simplicity of the game. This vehicle changed how public lobbies felt. One tiny icon flying towards you on the map could mean your cell mission was over or your car was about to explode. Today, we have cars that can go underwater, cars that can shoot machine guns, and trucks that can take 30 rockets. This is a far cry from the early days when everyone drove around in armored Kurumas and the biggest worry you could have was someone stealing a jet from Fort Zancudo. Back when the big grind was for an apartment to do heists, players could have never imagined what the game would turn into. Today, we're going to look at the history of the Oppressor MK2 in GTA Online, how it became one of the most controversial vehicles in the game, and why its impact went far beyond annoying players. So let's get into it. On June 13th, 2017, the gun running update launched in GTA Online. This brought the bunker, explosive rounds, and the MOC, but the most important thing it added for our purposes was the Oppressor. The Oppressor was a motorcycle that could glide while having a rocket boost. Rockstar had already tested the waters with rocket-powered vehicles with the Rocket Voltic, added in 2016 with the Import-Export update. But this took it a different direction. With the Rocket Voltic, you kind of just hit the boost button and went fast or flew into a wall. There wasn't a way to fly with it. With the Oppressor, the player could basically fly. You could have weapons on this vehicle too, either rockets or a machine gun. It was simple and not game-breaking at all. Instead, it provided a new and fun way to get around the map and grind. GTA Online at this point had far less things to do. You could run contact missions, races, CEO businesses, and motorcycle club businesses. Before the days of the salvage yard, nightclub, Cayo Perico heist, acid lab, and many other businesses, the grind used to be a lot harder. A new toy for grinders was always welcome. Plus, it took some amount of skill to fly around on this bike without crashing. And it only took one rocket to blow it up. This bike also didn't have any countermeasures. This made the Oppressor a vehicle that could be respected. It wasn't just a mindless vehicle you could watch TikTok while driving. Flash forward to December 12th, 2017, with the release of the Doomsday Heist DLC. With it came the Deluxo, and this vehicle set the blueprint for the Oppressor MK2. The Deluxo was a car that you could toggle flight mode with. Unlike the gliding and rocket boosting of the Oppressor, flying with it took no brain power. The Deluxo showed Rockstar that a simple flying vehicle with overpowered missiles could dominate GTA Online. Not only that, the Deluxo was blessed with some of the most overpowered rockets in the entire game. Once it was locked onto you, you were done. It outclassed most of the aircraft in the game too because it was so easy to maneuver. Instead of having to make wide turns, the Deluxo could just spin on a dime mid-air. This made the Deluxo the griefer's best friend, but it also had a lot of uses for grinding. It had all the conveniences of a car, while also having the ability to fly with overpowered rockets. This meant you could just fly to your mission target, blow everyone up, disengage flight mode, grab whatever you needed, and then fly away. It made every mission in the game much easier and saved time. One thing that the Deluxo didn't have was countermeasures. Just like the Oppressor, it only took one rocket to blow up. This was before the days of the railgun, when it was still annoying to fight flying objects. July 24th, 2018 marked the launch of the After Hours update in GTA Online. This update added the nightclub, but what's important for our purposes is what happened in the weeks following the update's launch. On August 14th, 2018, the Oppressor MK2 made its debut in GTA Online. Using what they learned from the Oppressor MK1 and the Deluxo, Rockstar crafted the perfect brain rot vehicle. It had a boost like the Oppressor MK1, but it got rid of the motorcycle design. Rather than a motorcycle with a speed boost, the Oppressor MK2 was more like a hovercraft. Thankfully, the boost only recharged if you were standing still. There was no way to switch it into a motorcycle mode, like you could switch to car mode with the Deluxo. You could fly this thing with one hand on keyboard and mouse, making it the ultimate 80 IQ bike. Not only that, it was still considered a motorcycle, so you could call it in with the motorcycle club interaction menu. There weren't that many ways to counter it because it also had flares and was agile. It had an option to use a machine gun, but nobody in their right mind would ever use that. Instead, it had some of the most broken rockets in the entire game. And the cherry on top, on release, with the trade price, the Oppressor MK2 cost less than $3 million. It was the best vehicle in the game, and it was cheap as hell. It was like adding a shark to a pool filled with goldfish. On release, the MK2 also had a crazy speed glitch where if you angled the bike up and down rapidly, it would start going fast, like ridiculously fast. Remember what I said about the boost only recharging if you were standing still? This glitch also got rid of that. The Oppressor glitch was in the game for several months before it was patched with the Arena Wars update. Now, the Oppressor MK2 also had some very minor drawbacks. One of them was that you needed a nightclub club and a terabyte to use and upgrade it. This added several million more to its price, but it was still a steal compared to how useful it was. Other than that, it really didn't have a downside. The Oppressor Mark II instantly became one of the most popular vehicles in the entire game. You could see many different players using it. Griefers obviously loved it since it was easy to use and hard to kill. At the same time, it made travel and missions much easier. The Mark II became indispensable to all kinds of players. This is where the Oppressor Mark II became more than just another overpowered vehicle. It changed the feeling of public lobbies. Before that, if another player was driving near you, there was still at least a chance they were just passing by. But when you saw an Oppressor Mark II icon flying directly towards you, you already knew what was about to happen. If you were doing a cell mission, that tiny icon could instantly turn the entire lobby into a horror game. It was especially bad for low-level players. If you did not have explosive rounds, weaponized vehicles, or some other expensive counter, there was not much you could do. You could try to shoot it down, but most of the time, you were just waiting to get blown up again. That is why this vehicle became so hated. It made the players feel helpless. The Mark II also changed how fighting worked in GTA Online. Before this, most fights had some kind of commitment. If someone pulled up in a car, tank, helicopter, or a jet, they actually had to stay in the fight. The Mark II made combat faster and more annoying. A player could fly in, lock on, fire a rocket, and disappear before you could really do anything back. This is what made the Mark II debate even more complicated. The people who hated it were right because it made public lobbies miserable, but the people who defended it were also right because it made GTA Online's grind way less painful. The Mark II was both the disease and the cure. It solved one of GTA Online's biggest problems by making travel and missions faster, but it created an even bigger problem by making one vehicle too useful in almost every situation. The Oppressor Mark II carried on in this overpowered state for nearly 3 full years. That was until 2022, when it received its first major nerf. Rockstar made its rockets much worse. Instead of basically being instant death, players actually had a chance against the Oppressor. They also reduced the number of flares it could carry and increased their cooldown. A few months later, Rockstar increased the price from 3.8 million and a trade price of 2.9 million to 8 million and a trade price of 6 million. This is the state it's been in for the last 4 years. On the GTA Online subreddit, you can find countless examples of people complaining about it. The controversy did not stop at community arguments. It also affected how Rockstar designed the game going forward. After the Oppressor Mark II, GTA Online started to feel like an arms race. Rockstar could not go back to normal cars and guns anymore. They had created a world where a tiny flying bike with missiles could dominate the map, so future vehicles had to be designed around that reality. That is why so many later vehicles needed armor, missile resistance, lock-on jammers, or their own insane weapons. From that point on, if you wanted to survive GTA Online, you could not just buy cool cars anymore. You had to buy something that could survive the Oppressor. For example, Imani Tech vehicles allowed regular sports cars to take several rockets and block the ability of being locked onto. Rockstar also added the Toreador, a car that can shoot rockets as well as take several without blowing up. This served as a $4 million counter to the Oppressor Mark II. Rockstar created a problem and then sold the solution to it. It's also ruined most of the other ways to get around in the game, because why would you ever use anything else? It's by far the best option to get around, so every car or motorcycle becomes useless when you have this thing. Essentially everything that you could buy on Legendary Motorsport was trash, unless you didn't care about being blown up or if you were bored of this brain rot. I'd argue helicopters would have also fallen by the wayside if you couldn't spawn them from the interaction menu. The Oppressor Mark II became the only vehicle that many players used when they hopped on the game. This is the weird part about the Oppressor Mark II. It made GTA Online smaller by making everything easier. GTA Online has one of the biggest vehicle lists of any game, but the Oppressor Mark II made most of that list feel pointless. Why drive around the map in a supercar when you can fly over every road and enemy? The Mark II changed how players thought about efficiency. For grinders, it became the obvious choice because it saved time. For griefers, it became the obvious choice because it was way easier to kill people with. For normal players, it became something you almost had to own just to keep up. Even if you hated it, the game pushed you towards using it. This is also why nerfs did not completely fix the problem. Making the rockets worse helped, raising the price helped, but the basic idea of the vehicle stayed the same. It was still a small flying bike that could cross the map easily, make missions faster, and avoid most of the normal problems other vehicles had. Rockstar could weaken it, but they could not undo the years where it trained players to rely on it. In a way, the Oppressor Mark II became the symbol of modern GTA Online. Early GTA Online was messy, but it still was mostly about cars, guns, and chaos on the streets. The Mark II represents the version of GTA Online where everything became bigger, faster, and more ridiculous. Most people do not hate it because it killed them one too many times. They hate it because it reminds them of how far the game moved away from what it used to be. The Oppressor Mark II did not ruin GTA Online, but it brought direct attention to the direction the game was already heading in. A game built around cars slowly became a game where the best answer to almost every problem was a flying motorcycle with rockets. And years later, that is why one tiny icon flying towards you on the map says more about GTA Online than almost anything else in the game.